Will the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs please come to order? It's 1:06 p.m. I'd like to welcome committee members Cordero, Kiaina, Say, Tolba, Waters, and Wire. Committee member Tupola and Okimoto are excused from today's meeting. Before we start our meeting, I have some procedural announcements to make. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony remotely or in person in the council chamber on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up. All persons who registered to testify in person will be called upon first, followed by those who registered to testify remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. For remote testifiers, when your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. All registered testifiers will be called upon first, then I'll give persons who have not registered an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. Please utilize the raise hand feature in Zoom to be called upon. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, if any objections are noted, I'll call for a roll call vote. For those council members participating from outside of the council chamber, in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you and cannot reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you'll be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described in the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. And members, before we start, I want to introduce the Kokua Kalihi Valley Vai Vai Summer Youth Program and their members who are gathered here today. Please stand up. The Vai Vai Summer Youth Program is designed to focus on expanding the understanding of community health and healthcare among our healthcare fellows. It will be held for 5 weeks. And the program enrolls at least 25 students from the community who are either entering their junior or senior years in high school or are recent high school graduates. The youth gathered here hail from Farrington, Go Govs, Iolani, Damien, Waipahu, La Pietra, and Kalani. So mahalo everyone for stopping by Honolulu Hale and best wishes in your future healthcare journeys. And I want to acknowledge Rona Mangayayam, who is their fearless leader and does so much for our Kalihi community. So thanks, Rona. All right, I'd like to welcome Councilmember Okimoto to the chambers as well. Members, we'll dive in. The first agenda item is Resolution 24-147 relating to the appointment of Larry Beret to serve on the Neighborhood Commission of the City and County of Honolulu for a term expiring on June 29th, 2025. Do we have Mr. Beret? Maybe we'll call him up.
Well, good afternoon and aloha to the whole forum here. Chairman, thank you for putting me first on the agenda. And again, first, I want to thank all of you personally. As chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, you know, I watch Alelo all the board meetings, and I see all of you providing testimony with all the good things that you do for the community. What I really like the most is the common sense factor to take care of it, and boots on the ground when there's some type of disaster or some emergency impact. But I'm here today, answer any questions. I'm retired Navy, 53 years. I served the U.S. Navy with my technical expertise, Vietnam veteran during the war, and of course everything I learned back then I brought to today to our military. Last 30 years I was up at U.S. Pacific Command, and I traveled all over the Pacific for 30 years, training every military intelligence unit in the Pacific. And today I'm retired for the third time because I keep getting called back. I think this is for good, but I'm giving back to the community right now. I was just talking with the young group right here. This is a good opportunity for them to learn government, and I hope I'll be able to influence someday to get them on the neighborhood boards, at least 1 or 2 seats. It's something we got to have happen. But anyway, I volunteer my time to be on the neighborhood commission so I can help the team continue to support the policy issues. I've already been nominated and selected to be on the neighborhood plan committee to be able to improve our policies that we have. And also, I'll be working very closely with our NCO executive secretary and staff. But I thank you for putting me first on the agenda and also for this very important position that I hope to bring my leadership, management, and communication skills. Thank you.
For the record, your name for the record. Your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry Verre.
Yeah. Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Verre? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Not a question, but I just wanted to mahalo Mr. Verre for stepping up. And just looking through your resume, I know you've shared some of it, but can't think of anyone that's more committed to service both to our country and to our community, to your homeowner association, and also on the neighborhood board. And so I think that the perspective and the insight you could bring is invaluable. So just want to say mahalo.
Well, thank you, Councilman Weimer.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm grateful to have my Pearl City Board Chair here. Larry, I just want to ask you really quickly so I can use my question properly. What is your favorite part about serving on the neighborhood board, and what do you think you can add more than you've already done? You're doing a lot as you go into this appointed position.
I think the favorite part that I have is taking care of people. I'm a retired Navy Command Master Chief. I took care of my people while I was in the Navy. There was nothing I couldn't handle. There was nothing I could get done for leadership in the Pacific. And I look at being the chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board allows me to listen to our residents, work very closely with our city council representatives and our legislative staff members, and also to be able to help shape up our laws. There are times that things need to be changed, but most importantly, taking care of our people for their health, education, welfare, and making sure that if I do have keep my board intact, they're cohesive, to keep, if there's any infighting, stop it in its tracks. We're there for one reason, take care of the people. But, I dedicate my time to help the elderly. They get a lot of priority from me when they need help, especially when they need to get a doctor's appointment and nobody take them. But I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Chair Verre. Thank you, Chair DeSantos-Tam.
Thank you. Members, any other questions before we go to testimony? All right, we'll go with the in-person testifiers. We have Corey Chun, followed by Julie Ray-Zota.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. My name is Corey Chun. I'm here in support of the nomination of Larry Verre. I've worked with Larry in the community for many years and in different roles as a community member, as a colleague. When I was former chair of the Waipahu Neighborhood Board, we worked on a lot of issues together. And now as a member of the House, we continue to work on community issues. And I can't think of anyone who's more committed to his community and also to the neighborhood board system. So thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Representative Chun? All right, seeing none, thank you. And we have Julie Ray-Zota next. And if there's anyone else who'd like to speak on Mr. Verre's nomination, you can line up after Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Reyes-Oda. I'm a resident of Eva Beach, but I met Larry Verre through my friend Charmaine Duran, who serves on the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. Larry represents the area of my husband where he grew up in. He grew up in Palisades, which is also where my husband's parents still live. I met Larry when I presented a resolution to the Pearl City Neighborhood Board, and I also invited him when I created a town hall, and he attended. He attended with everything that he had and participated, and was everything that I hope Larry would be. He inspires me every day, and he shows a commitment to the intention and the spirit of the neighborhood board. He is the servant leader that I think we would want for anybody in office that we would appoint. And the one thing that I like about Larry is that he shows that community service is not a competition. And that's what I see a lot, is that people rack up community service to just say, well, this is how many that I have. And Larry doesn't do that. Please support Larry. Thank you.
Mahalo, any questions for Julie? All right, is there anyone else in the chamber who'd like to testify? All right. Oh, Angela Melody Young.
I'll keep it short. Aloha. I would like to testify in support of the nominee. I think the things that he mentioned about the kids, that's a very good direction to take things in. The atmosphere neighborhood board is not very good. If you've ever been on neighborhood board, people yell at each other all the time. So that's a really good way to redirect people's energy to perhaps help facilitate good community relationships with the children, like work with teams of music artists and after school programs, because that's what excites the children. And, like plays, musicals, extracurricular activities to process emotions so they don't take out their energy bullying one another, and then they can grow up to be good adults. And then that can also be inspiring to the adults to see happy community relationships on the neighborhood board.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, hearing none and seeing, is there anyone else in the chamber? Seeing none, we'll move to our remote testifiers. We have Jaden Liu, followed by Michelle Matson. Jaden, please proceed.
Aloha, Chair Dos Santos Tam, Vice Chair Cordero, distinguished council members. My name is Jaden Lee. I'm a former Pearl City Neighborhood Board member who served alongside Chair Verre. I truly cannot think of anyone else who distinguishes themselves as a community advocate, a servant leader, and someone who is willing to serve everyone in their community, no matter what their political ideology is. Chair Verre has taught me how to effectively bring community voices from all backgrounds. And I truly think if you are looking for someone who will provide the foundation and structure to all neighborhood boards across the island, Mr. Verre is that individual you are looking for. And so I strongly support his nomination. He truly will make a difference across the entire island by ensuring that everyone's voice is heard and that effective policy making is made from the ground up. And so I ask each and every one of you to support his nomination. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, questions for the testifier? All right, seeing none, thank you. We'll move to Michelle Matson.
Aloha, Chair Dos Santos Tam and committee members. I'm Michelle Matson, a member of the Diamond Head Kapolulu St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board, as well as the Planning and Zoning Committee Chair. I speak in strong support for Larry Verre to serve on the Neighborhood Commission. The neighborhood board system is more accurately a community board system, as the elected neighborhood boards comprise multiple neighborhoods within specific areas of the named larger communities. The commissioners of this system must collectively possess the knowledge and wherewithal to properly guide its functions. And Larry Verre has the knowledge, strength of character, and high level of integrity to work with others and address the needs of the system that serves the larger public. Therefore, I strongly support the City Council's appointment of Larry Verre to serve on the Neighborhood Commission. Thank you.
Members, any questions for Ms. Matson? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your mana'o on this issue. Clerks, is there anyone else standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, there being none, members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Okimoto?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo, the testimonies that were shared. I think it's pretty evident just based on the testimonies that were shared across various parts of people in the community that Larry has been such an instrumental part of our community, and I look forward to us continuing. I have to echo the sentiments of, his ability and desire to serve, but also make sure that everyone's voices are heard. I also appreciate his ability to bring everybody together. And out of the neighborhood boards that I am a part of, I do appreciate how he does his best to manage the Pearl City one. So I think, we're really fortunate to have him volunteering his time at this point. Thank you for allowing this discussion.
Thank you. Any other discussion members? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair, Committee Chair. I'm very supportive of Mr. Verrey's appointment to the Neighborhood Commission. I met Mr. Verrey when I started the city in 2012, or from 2012, and have experienced different times where he's showed up not just for council-related meetings or events, but especially when it came to our community's town halls, cleanups, even in my part of IAEA, and just the neighboring parts of his community is the whole island, and that's what he cares about, and that's what I truly feel. And just as he has watched all the neighborhood boards and watched us report, I actually watch your neighborhood boards as well, your neighborhood board, and I've been doing so for the past few years. So you've been doing a great job managing it from 2020 to now and even before that. So thank you so much for your great work, and also for your great engagement with all the community leaders beyond the elected officials as well. And we can see that through the testimony provided today. Thank you. Thank you, Committee Chair.
Members, any other discussion? All right, sensing none, and having been a member of the commission and the chair of the commission for 3 years, it's my great pleasure to recommend that Resolution 24-147 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Congratulations. All right, members, we'll move on to agenda item number 2. This is Resolution 24-107. This requests the city administration to take the steps necessary to acquire the non-city and non-federal portion of North Road in Ewa Beach, Oahu, including, if necessary, the preparation of a resolution to initiate proceedings in eminent domain. We have with us Director Morton, and this was introduced by Councilmember Tolba. I don't know if you want to reserve your remarks for the end or kick us off now.
Sure. North Road is owned in part by the city, the federal government, and private landowners. The privately owned portion of the road has not been maintained properly and lacks infrastructure and has become a health and safety hazard for residents in Ewa Beach. This resolution would allow the start and the process of officially taking over this road. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, we have with us the Director of the Department of Transportation Services, Roger Morton.
For the record, it's Roger Morton, Director of Transportation Services. First of all, Council Member, I know you put your blood, sweat, and toil into trying to use as much persuasion as you can to try to get the private owner to maintain the road, and commend you for that effort. I know that the city owns the front portion of the road by Campbell, and we have recently improved that roadway. I'm not going to really comment too much on the resolution. I would point out, that there are numerous private roads around the island, and the city's policy on private roads is to accept them if they're used by the public after they have been brought up to city standards. This road was originally a military road, wasn't designed with city standards in mind. That's just the reality. There's other roads like that throughout the island. But it's a resolution. It's the sense of the council, and I'm not going to oppose or promote it.
Okay, members, any questions for the director? Councilmember Solba.
Thank you, Chair. So just a couple of questions. Does DTS have an estimate of how many people use North Road on a daily basis?
We don't have an estimate, but we know that there is a large community that use it. There is that recently DOE did put in school bus, which is good for the kids, but I know that there are children that are outside of the school bus hours sometimes, and they're forced to walk sometimes on the roadway itself. So I'm really aware of the issues that the community has in trying to get through that fairly long section of roadway.
Yeah, can you tell everybody the length of the roadway?
You know, I just saw this resolution recently.
Okay.
We have not, and most of the heavy work that's been requested in here will be to the Department of Design and Construction and the Land Survey Group, if that's what you're requesting. But I don't have it didn't come prepared with the detailed information.
It's about a mile.
Yeah.
It's about a mile. The private portion of the road. Okay, so are there other roads in the city and county that have similar impact on the adjacent communities in terms of being the main way for residents to access 3 or possibly 5 schools?
5 schools I can't think of, but I can think of other roadways. Crozier Drive on the North Shore, for example. There are some pretty, fairly popular roads that are used by lots of communities. I don't know whether there's any that have potentially 5 schools, but I certainly recognize the difficulty that Eva Beach residents have in using the roadway.
Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Okay, members, any other questions for the director? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll proceed with in-person testimony. We have 3 registered testifiers. We have Corey Asuncion, followed by Angela Melody Young, and then Julie Reyes Oda. So if you could come up in that order and testify, and if there's anyone else who'd like to testify on this matter, please line up after Julie.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Corey Asuncion. I'm a resident of Eva Beach. For years, I've been a volunteer cleanup and maintenance of North Road with Councilmember Augie T. and Representative Dave Alcos. The reason why I'm here, I'm in support of the bill. I lost a good friend on that road, actually a few of them. It's very dangerous. On behalf of my Uncle Darrell that lost his life there, I just want to say that that road is very, very dangerous. A lot of the kids came to me and explained that they need to use the car lights to have vision on the road and then jump out of the way when the car passed by. 1, there's no lighting. 2, there's no sidewalks. 3, the bicyclist always gets hit because they have to share the road with the vehicles there. It's very narrow, very dangerous, very dark. There's no lighting. And we really need speed bumps there because the speeding. I want to bring this up. A good friend of mine, Mano Olayan, his daughter just had a head-on collision there, and she survived. She just got out of the hospital, so it's a very, very dangerous road. And Councilmember Augie, he really cares about it. I help him clean, pull the brush, at least to make a little dirt road for the kids to walk. So it's very dangerous, and I want to see this bill get passed. Mahalo.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Mr. Asuncion? All right, up next, we have Angela Melody Young, followed by Julie Reyes Oda. And again, if there's anyone else who'd like to testify, please line up after Julie.
Angela Melody Young from CARES. I'm not a community member of Eva Beach District, but I am in support of this resolution. I've traversed on this road during Halloween. My friend was in the car crash, Savannah, Uncle Mana's and Auntie Gail's daughter. So you can request a baseline average, if you didn't know this, from the HPD. HPD has reports of hazardous accidents that occur, and you can request a baseline average of a specific road. And so also, I'm curious if it's a good idea to create a task force to start a discussion of acquisition with focused priorities to not only facilitate discussion of legal ownership of property rights, but to focus priorities on planning and design for infrastructure goals, for example, gas, electric, and board of water supply, to explore concerns of environmental damage and pollution with consideration for emergency vehicle access. The rationale of working together to get things done, right, with DLM, transportation services, design and construction, and DPP each have special focuses on these topics and could provide all this information prior to acquiring the road from the private owner.
Okay. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
If you decide to use my idea, it's okay. I don't need the glory or the credit, but you're welcome.
We thank you in advance. All right, up next, Julie Reyes-Oda.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Dos Santos Tam, Vice Chair Cordero, and members of the Committee of Executive Matters and Legal Affairs. My name is Julie Reyes-Oda. I'm an 18-year resident of Eva Beach, an Eva Neighborhood Board member, a teacher whose first teaching job was at Campbell High on North Road, and a mom. I'm submitting testimony in support of Resolution 24-107. For anyone who lives in Kapilina with no car at night, it's pitch black with no sidewalk after the last residential street, Hayamu. Then there's a 1.5 mile off-roading trek to the entrance of Kapilina. They may have passed piles of junk or abandoned cars on the walk. The bus ceased service to Iroquois Point once it stopped being used as military housing. So no one gets confused, Kapilina is the former Iroquois Point housing area. Resolution 24-107 is a way of addressing a community problem of North Road being used as a dump and being a safety hazard with its acquisition of the non-city and non-federal portion for public purpose. Please consider the voices in Eva who ask for your help in providing safe communities for our working families. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? All right, seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber who'd like to testify on this matter? Okay, sensing none. Clerks, are there any remote? Oh, I see we have Senator Kurt Favela, who is registered to speak remotely. Senator, please proceed.
Aloha. So I guess I'm talking, being able to talk about the right subject about North Road. Is this the one?
This is the one.
All right. I just wanted to share my manao because back in the day, we understand with jurisdictions and going forward, but I think this is a great idea because a long time ago, growing up in Eva Beach, the city used to take care of that area with the golf course and the military. And they used to also pave the road, and then the bus used to go up and down that road long time ago. So I think this would be something good because of all the illegal dumping that's been happening over there. And, you know, we have these two ladies, Councilman Augie had awarded them. They're the two ladies from 808 cleanup. Believe it or not, they pretty much tackle that whole road every day when going home from work and on the weekends. But you know, we want to make the road safer, and I think, you know, if the city can find a way to take jurisdiction of the road, I think it would be a plus for the community of Eva Beach.
All right, thank you. Senator, any questions for the senator? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for your manao on this issue.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know I support the measure.
All right, clerks, do we have anyone else registered to testify remotely or standing by?
Chair, there are none.
All right, in that case, members, we are in discussion. Any discussion on this matter? Councilmember Tolba?
Chair, I just wanted to say thank you for putting this on the agenda. I think it's pretty clear why. It's become a safety issue. In the time I first got into office, we've done a task force. We've done numerous cleanups. And then recently, we just kind of cleared the way so that there's a path. And Director Morton knows this. We've tried many a times to talk with the private landowner with no avail. So I'm hoping that we can move this along and, again, take the necessary steps. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? All right. There being none, the chair recommends the resolution 24-107 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, objections, or reservations? Okay, hearing none, so ordered. Members, we're on agenda item number 3 now. This is Bill 33 of 2024, amending Chapter 1, Revised Ordinances of Honolulu 2021 to repeal or amend certain obsolete or unnecessary provisions. Members, we do have a posted proposed CD1 to the bill submitted by myself, which makes a tiny date correction to one of the clauses, and that the summary of those amendments are posted on the agenda. We'll proceed with testimony on this matter. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers or anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
And then clerks, is there anyone registered remotely or standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, there being none, members, we are in discussion. Thank you for entertaining this bill. This is just a little cleanup bill for Chapter 1. We'll have several others for various chapters of ordinances as we go through, just to update, modernize, and streamline our beloved revised ordinances of Honolulu. Any discussion, members? Okay. There being none, the chair recommends that Bill 33 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2024-0615. Any discussion, objections, or reservations to the recommendation to amend? Hearing none, Bill 33 is amended to the CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 33 CD1 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing, and pursuant to its consecutive referral, be referred to the Committee on Executive Management. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, members, we'll now move to executive session. The following items as posted on the agenda have been referred to executive session. I'll read the items individually to allow for oral public testimony on each item. The first is request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Tiga D. Shuren, individually and as a personal representative of the estate of Taji M. Williams, deceased, versus City and County of Honolulu, civil number 171151309, LWC, Circuit Court. We'll proceed with in-person testimony. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers or anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
And then clerks, is there anyone standing by remotely or who's registered remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, that being the case, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. This is a request for authorization to settle a case entitled Justin Castro versus City and County of Honolulu, civil number 1CCV 2200387 USDC. We'll now proceed with in-person testimony. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers? Anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Clerks, do we have any registered remote testifiers or anyone standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, then we'll move on to the 6th item. This is a request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Margaret Seo as Special Administrator of the estate of Darius Seo versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV 220000811, Circuit Court. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers or anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Clerks, do we have any registered remote testifiers or anyone standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Very well. We'll move on to the next agenda item. This is a request for authorization to settle a case entitled Mark Matsusaka versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV 220001039, Circuit Court. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers or anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Are there any registered remote testifiers or anyone standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, there being none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Alicia Anduha versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV-22-00015886, Circuit Court. Well, clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers or anyone in the chamber who'd like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
There being none, we'll proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any registered remote testifiers or anyone standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. That being a call for testimony, members, are there any objections to convening into executive session? Hearing no objections, the committee convenes into a closed meeting pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute, Section 92-4 and 92-5A4, to consult in a closed meeting with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the powers, duties, privileges. Oh.
Chair, is it okay before you close, if I could just request to have my policy advisor sit in, Jamie Shadell, into the executive session?
No, without objection.
Okay, thank you.
And I just make the same request for my staff as well.
Okay. Yes. No objection.
Malo.
Okay. Without objections, the committee convenes into a closed meeting pursuant to HRS Sections 92-4 and 92-5A4 to consult in a closed meeting with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities of the city, the council, and its committees on the items listed on the agenda for executive session. The following persons will be participating in executive session. All council members present. The staff members noted by Councilmember Okimoto and Councilmember Wire. From Corporation Counsel, Dwayne Pang, Kaliko Warrington, Jason Baker, Paige Ogata, Mario Everett, and Seichi Liu, Office of Council Services Staff Attorney. Members, I'll now call a recess. The Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs is reconvened. It's 2:28. Pursuant to Section 92-4 and 92-5A4 of your revised statutes, the committee has consulted in executive session with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and or liabilities of the city, the council, and its committees on the items listed on the agenda for executive session. I will now make my recommendations on the executive session items. I'm going to take them up individually. For agenda item number 4, the chair recommends that the request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Tiga D. Shern individually and as the personal representative of the estate of Taji M. Williams, deceased, for City and County of Honolulu, civil number 171151309 LWC, Circuit Court be approved. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. For agenda item number 5, the chair recommends that the request for authorization to settle a case entitled Justin Castro versus City and County of Honolulu, civil number 1CCV-22-00387 USDC, be approved. Any discussion, objections?
Objection.
Objection from Councilmember Ki'aina. That being an objection, we'll take a roll call. I'm going to start from right to left. Councilmember Tolba. Aye. Councilmember Okimoto.
Reservations.
Councilmember Wire.
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ki'aina.
No.
Councilmember Say. Council Chair Waters. And Chair votes aye. Thank you. For agenda item number 6, the chair recommends the request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Margaret Seo, as special administrator of the estate of Darius Seo, versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV-22-0000811. Circuit Court be approved. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. For agenda item number 7, the chair recommends the request for authorization to settle a case entitled Mark Matsusaka versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV-22-0001039. Circuit Court be approved. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Finally, agenda item number 8, the chair recommends the request for authorization to settle a case against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Alicia Anduha versus City and County of Honolulu et al., civil number 1CCV-22-001586. Circuit Court be approved. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. We'll take about a few minutes for our Olelo transmission to transfer over to transportation. Thank you.